Now is the time.
Forever? Tangent.
Halt.
Hashtag always MGM.
You are approaching the unloading area.
Calm down. AK haters.
But what if it could?
Behold, the majesty of the Sistine Ceiling.
For the kids.
A salute to all theme parks, but mostly Walt Disney World.
What a cute ending.
Aloha, and
Don't Dillo it.
This is Theme Park Thursday with Dillos Diz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank, and we are doing a introduction to this episode today to keep my voice at a regular register and not with the nervousness and the I didn't want the higher register to be jumping out right away and the overexcited Frank to come through.
Right. You wanted to Dillo, as we say here on the podcast. You wanted to Dillo the introduction and just our overall beings.
It's the thing we do. It's the thing we do. On this episode today, if you're checking out the podcast for the first time, Jen and I, we are siblings.
Yes.
And we are 7.5 years apart in age.
Yes.
And besides trips to Walt Disney World, the thing that probably connected us, kept us together despite that age gap over the years was our love for the all-new Mickey Mouse Club.
Yes, for sure.
And we would record episodes. I would secretly say to friends in high school who could record the Disney Channel when I could not, I would say, my sister would like you to record the episode for the all new Mickey Mouse Club this week because she will not be at home. Can you do that for me? Thanks. We're gonna be on vacation or she has softball. I don't know what I made up.
I don't know what you did.
I had so many different excuses. Where at least during the school year, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, because we like the video jams and we like party day.
Yeah.
And so we had Tuesdays and Thursdays a lot. But then I remember another friend when we went to Walt Disney World in the summertime, and I think the party was debuting as a group on the all new Mickey Mouse Club. Mm-hmm. I was like, you got to record this whole week because I don't know what's going to happen. And so those are the kind of things that would happen because I was going to be a junior in high school at that point. So it's like, no, it's not me. I'm not the super fan. No.
How many other kids in your high school do you think were also secretly watching the all-new Mickey Mouse Club and no one was talking about it?
Of course, nobody was talking about this, right? It's just because how I know so many people that, here in the Facebook world and whatnot years later, they didn't even talk about going to Disney World a lot. And now they're like the biggest Disney World fans. And somebody in my close circle of friends who would mock me for going to Disney World so much in high school. He goes to Disney World all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I feel like back then, like you didn't talk about your fandoms. Now there's fandoms everywhere, and everyone has their little thing that they're obsessed with, and it's so much easier to talk about. But back then, you're like, I don't know, is this cool? I don't know, so I'm not going to talk about it.
That's right. It was basically all you talked about in our high school back. We were talking later 80s and into the 90s. Jen graduating in the year 2000. That you talked about sports, and you talked about music, really. In terms of like pop culture and things and movies, but that it didn't go outside of that.
Right.
There wasn't a franchise starting every year. Like, there's a new franchise of things. Like nobody knew what was going on. So Jen and I, as fans of the all new Mickey Mouse Club, pretty much kept us together. I was into the fact that it recorded at Disney MGM Studios. Hashtag always MGM. Mm-hmm. And and then Jen was watching Kids Incorporated and Teen Win Lose or Draw or whatever in the afternoon. Came home from
You're just saying that because I just posted that old commercial. I didn't forget
it's in my
Teen Win Lose or Draw completely until I saw that commercial.
And one of the things that I don't think we ever could have imagined when we started Theme Park Thursday with Dillos Diz 5 years ago, hence the Dilloversary season of Theme Park Thursday with Dillos Diz, is that we would be privy to and have the opportunity to see members of the all-new Mickey Mouse Club perform and have members of the all-new Mickey Mouse Club as guests on Theme Park Thursday with Dillos Diz.
I still don't understand it. I think anytime this happens, I think I flood your text messages with gifs of "Are we in Bizarro World?" It's just a very surreal thing. I like, and I think I go into it going, "I'm gonna be cool. I'm gonna be calm. We are just all friends. This is what's happening. This is now." And then as soon as I'm there, I'm like, "Oh my God, what am I saying? I don't know if I'm saying it. What are the words coming out of my mouth?"
So in 2020, we had Chase and Hampton on, and that was right in between when they had the big MMC 30 event for the 30th anniversary in 2019, and when the re-release, the digital release, I guess, of all the albums of the party came out. Since that time, since we talked to Chase, we've seen the party at the House of Blues in September of 2021. We met several of the Musketeers in 2022, in March of 22. In December, we were at Lindsay Alley's show here in New York City. And then we had Jennifer McGill, aka Miss Versatility, on the podcast in the spring of last year. So today, again, we say this a lot. We can't believe these things happen.
No.
At all.
No.
Today on the podcast, we have Deedee Magno Hall, who was a member of the party, who is a key member of the All New Mickey Mouse Club, those first couple of seasons she has done in her career, not just with the club and the party, but on Broadway, touring with productions of Broadway shows, is the voice of Pearl on Steven Universe. There was a lot to get in here.
I know. I kept watching the time going, "Oh, we haven't even covered this yet. Are we going to have enough time to cover it all? There's so much to talk about."
And Deedee was so kind to give us all the time to talk about all the things. And we wanted to share that interview with you now here on Theme Park Thursday. You do get a theme park story in the middle of the podcast there. So yeah, we stay true, not only just with the Mickey Mouse Club recording and, filming at #AlwaysMGM, but Deedee gives you a little glimpse into life on the theme park set, as it were. So right now, we will take you to our interview with Deedee Magno Hall here on Theme Park Thursday with Dillos Diz, the All New Mickey Mouse Club, The Party, Steven Universe, 90s Con. We're covering all the things. Enjoy. Deedee, you are the third member of the all-new Mickey Mouse Club to join us here on Theme Park Thursday, and we're keeping it cool. Jen and I are going to keep it cool.
Lucky number 3. No, kidding. Really, who were the first two?
We had
Chase
Chase.
was the first.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was just texting with Chase
my
before I got.
Same.
No.
And then and then after 90s Con last year, we talked to Jennifer as well.
Aw. Well, two lovely humans. I love them both.
Well, you are lovely for taking the time to chat with us, and we're so appreciative. And everything about the podcast, we kind of go back to the all new Mickey Mouse Club. Jen and I are 7.5 years apart in age.
Frank is much older.
You guys.
So when the all new Mickey Mouse Club debuted in '89, it was an interesting thing because we were both drawn to the show for different reasons. And now, the podcast has been going on for about 5 years, and to be able to connect with all of you in these different ways, it's such a full circle thing for us. So as much as the excitement is real, it's really emotional for us in some ways, and we're not good with emotions.
Oh, well, then I'm in good company. Neither am I. But whatever that means. First of all, thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm appreciative that you reached out and invited me on. So, yes, I get very emotional too. I'm a very emotional person. So, and then, to have this connection with the Mickey Mouse Club and the party and the yesteryears, and, it brings me back to a special time in my life. And I'm happy to share my memories with you. So thank you for having me.
And I mean, I think we will go back, but, kind of piggybacking off of all of this, if you were to tell young Jen and Frank, "Oh, well, someday you're gonna talk to them," we'll be like, okay, that's never going to happen. And so is it kind of awesome? I mean, I'm sure it's awesome for you, but is it also a little bit surreal that not only were you doing the all new Mickey Mouse Club and the party back then, but that there's still such a love for it and that there's still an audience for it and we all want more of it? Like, did you see that 30 years ago? Did you see
There
it
was
going that way?
there was no possible way I could ever see this happening 30 years ago. I'm grateful that, first of all, that we are all still keeping in touch, as many as we can, as many of us as we can keep in touch with each other. And then for us to have the opportunity to get together, whether it's just, for gathering to reminisce about the yesteryears, or to actually do performances together and conventions together. And then this last one that we did over at D23 together, and then the one coming up. I love that we're getting together. I love that we still keep in touch, and I love that these opportunities keep arising. So, yeah, like I could never have guessed that this would be my life right now, but I'm so thankful. So I'm thankful that there are people like you and people that are even new fans of the show or the party, because of whatever current things everybody's doing these days. I'm thankful for the people who are interested in what's happening and still able to find a way to come and support whatever it is that we're doing. So I'm just so grateful to you and to the many that are still kind of chugging along with us on this train that's going I don't know where, but we're just happy to be
on it.
I'm happy to still be on it. So
it's really fantastic, and all the events that have been going on these last couple of years. It just it makes us want more. We know how everyone responds to it so positively because you're all so positive. We can dive into that too along the way. But I really I think in my research that I did, as if I didn't know so much already, I think I was surprised because I always was like, oh, Dede is from San Diego. But so when I looked and I was like, oh, you were born in Virginia. I don't know if I knew that or not. That's somewhere that got lost along the way. So maybe it just started at the very beginning with Virginia to San Diego and the origins of you as a performer.
Let's start at the very beginning now.
Toss these softballs all day.
Well, my father was in the Navy. He was stationed in Portsmouth, Virginia. So that's where I was born. And I have 3 other siblings. My brother, my older brother, myself, and my younger sister. We were all born in Portsmouth. And then my dad was stationed in San Diego. And then we traveled there. And then my youngest sister was born in San Diego. So that's why I was there. That's why I was born there and where I was born. So, and then I grew up in San Diego, and that's where in elementary school and in junior high school, I sort of got involved with school talent shows, and I joined a performing group that was involved with the Just Say No to Drugs campaign, and that was actually my first professional type of performance, and that's actually where I met Kevin Osgood. So Kevin Osgood and I grew up in San Diego, and we were involved in this Just Say No to Drugs campaign where there was maybe 12 or so kids that sang and danced to original music by Louis Stevens. So he wrote these songs dedicated to the cause, and we opened up for people like Tiffany there was like a Power 106.5 radio station thing that they had at this concert, and then they invited us kids to sing and perform these original songs. So that was my first experience with Kevin Osgood and Tiffany, the singer, and then from there I auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club. That was one of the things that I auditioned for, and the Mickey Mouse Club was my actual my very first professional paying job that I ever did. And I was about 11, 12 years old when I auditioned and started doing that show. So I auditioned from out of San Diego. My dad, God bless him, he would drive me back and forth from San Diego because he was retired at that time from the Navy. And my mom was still working as a registered nurse. And so my dad would drive me back and forth from San Diego to LA for all the auditions. And that was for everything from television, film, musicals, commercials, whatever. And the Mickey Mouse Club was one of those auditions that I auditioned for. So that Just Say No to Drugs thing, they were about to do a musical, and I had to politely decline doing that, being part of it, because I had booked the Mickey Mouse Club. So that was sort of around the same time. So it was really sad because I enjoyed my time doing that with those kids, and Louis Stevens was a big part of my beginning sort of performing in front of audiences and being and recording my very first song in his studio for that program. And we're still in touch, though. We're still Facebook friends. But and I think that he's still working on this program and developing something that he can have implemented in schools for educational purposes, which is I think is wonderful. So that was my start.
So once you booked it, did your entire family then move to Orlando, or were you kind of like, let's see how this goes? We don't really know what this is about yet, or how did that go?
Well, I was still in school. I think I was in eighth grade, and my dad at the time, like I said, he was retired from the Navy, so he was able to go with me to film the pilot. So we were in Orlando for about 3 months. And it was just me and my dad. And then when we got back, I can't remember how much time had passed in between the finishing up the pilot and then saying that the show was picked up by Disney Channel and that we were all going to move. And then when we did get that green light, my whole family packed up.
Yeah.
And we drove cross country and moved to Orlando.
Mhm.
And it's such a blur, but I do remember that. Well, now I'm recollecting when I look back at that sacrifice, that incredible sacrifice that my family made. My dad, got a new job working for Disney. He was a chef over at the Polynesian.
Oh, amazing.
For a long time. And my mom worked for another hospital there as a nurse. Then my brother and my sisters had to adjust to new schools and make new friends. I did not realize the huge sacrifice that they made at that time. I mean, I don't want to say that I was too young or whatever, because there are a lot of young people who are aware of those type of things. But at that time, I was living my life and doing the thing that I love and then calling it a job. And I was so wrapped up in all of that that I didn't realize that huge sacrifice that they made. So I owe everything to, well, God first and foremost, and my family. There's no way that I could be in the position that I'm in without the huge sacrifice and love and support from my parents and my brother and my sisters.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
That seemed like a big takeaway. Just even talking about everything in San Diego, it seemed like, was it more your family recognized it and your parents recognized it in you right away, this talent, or was it you? Was it a combination that you had so much joy in it that they were like, oh, we're going with this because we see something too? How did I mean, you were young, so maybe you don't recall how it all worked out. But when did everyone know? Oh, this is the direction.
I mean, when does anyone really, 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 truly know? But I knew that I guess my parents saw that at an early age, I took a real interest in performing. I guess I was a real ham, but performing for school talent shows and things like that, and then singing at Filipino pancit parties. My relatives would have parties, celebrating everything. And we would always have, break out the karaoke machine. And my mom would always encourage me, and my parents would always encourage me, like, "Oh, Auntie wants you to sing something for Auntie." And I think at the time I was like, ugh, I would do it begrudgingly because I wanted to play with everybody. But I think secretly I really enjoyed it. I think I really liked just singing and performing, and so maybe they just knew that that was something that I wanted to take a little bit seriously and maybe take to another level. I know that my parents tried to get me acting lessons and vocal coaching, and I worked with a handful, excuse me, a handful of people in San Diego, but nobody really steadily and seriously until I joined the Mickey Mouse Club. And so that's really where I got my training. But my brother and my sisters are all really, really talented in their own right. I mean, they all are really incredible dancers. Like, they dance way better than me. And then all my siblings are songwriters, and they are musicians in their own right, and super, super artistic and creative. And for whatever reason, I'm the one who made it a profession, although I know that each and every one of them could do whatever they wanted to do. So I can only believe that God has put me where I'm supposed to be. And so my parents, there was my mom actually saw it in the TV guide. It was an ad for a singing contest, and it was to submit or to audition to join this singing contest, much like The Voice or American Idol. But it was a local news channel, Channel 10 News in San Diego, and they were auditioning singers, and the prize was for a singing contract at a nightclub, a local nightclub. And I was 11 years old at the time. And I was one of the top 3 contestants. And so our audition was at the studio. They recorded us, and we sang to a track. And my song choice was "The Greatest Love of All" by Whitney Houston, of course. And because I had all my aunties and uncles and all my relatives call in to vote for me, I won. Apparently, I won like 3 times the vote of second place. So instead of the prize at the nightclub singing, singing at the nightclub, they were opening up SeaWorld, the local SeaWorld in San Diego, was opening up a new show and an attraction, and they invited me to be like the opening act for that new show. So I sang "New York, New York." I think it was City Streets. The name of the show was called City Streets at SeaWorld. And so that was my prize. And from that television viewing, somebody saw me and somehow tracked me down and got the phone number of my parents, and they wanted to represent me as a manager. And so that was how I got discovered, I guess. Back in the day. And then the rest is history, as they say. So that was that was the first time that I performed on a television show. But yeah, so that was how I got my first my first manager. But yes, so my parents were very, very supportive. My brother and sisters were so young, like me, and they just kind of went along for the ride and did what we were told. And yeah, I don't remember I don't remember like a vote happening. Are we going to all go to Orlando, or are we not going to go to Orlando? I just remember getting the call from my then manager saying, "You got the job." And then, it happened so quickly, but we all packed up and we drove cross country, and then we started filming. And my siblings had to go to new schools and make new friends. But yeah, I mean, I've spoken to my sisters about it. And we've had very, very different conversations about that time. But, when you're young, that's just your reality.
Yeah.
I don't think you think what would the options be, or what
Mhm.
where else could I have been? Like, I don't
Mhm.
think you play that game until you're older,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is hard because you were a kid and they're all kids, and also I feel like at that time, if your parents are like, "Yeah, we're definitely doing this," y I I always think, like, now with my kids, like, I consider their thoughts and their opinions on things and all that. I'm like, "I don't think that happened with me." So when I was a kid, like, I feel like our generation is a little bit different than our parents, where it's like, our parents are saying we're doing this, I guess we're doing it, okay?
I know.
Yeah.
How many times have my parents say, like, "You spoil your kids too
Yeah.
much. Like, you give them way too much, leeway." And
Yeah.
and I think it's true. I think
Yeah.
my parents, I remember just all my dad had to do was look at me a certain way, or my mom look at me a certain way, and I just knew I had to
Yeah.
listen and do
Yeah.
whatever I was told.
Yeah.
But it's so different now,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm literally like, "So what would you like for
Yeah.
dinner?"
Exactly.
I'm making 3 different dinners because
Right.
I'm giving
Yes.
them, a chance to share their opinion. But
Yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
but when I was growing up, I was like, "That's dinner. That's what you're gonna
Exactly.
eat.
Yeah.
You
Our
eat or you don't."
weekends were like, what are our parents doing this weekend? That's what we're doing. Our weekends now are spent like, how many activities do they have this weekend? I guess that's how we build our
Right?
lives. Yeah. A
Right?
little bit of a
Yeah.
different world.
Like, go outside,
Yeah.
ride a bike, read a book. Yes.
Exactly.
Um, one of the things in these last couple of years, maybe I guess since MMC 30, and just the panel discussions and interviews we've seen, what Jen and I get drawn to a lot is the training that was involved, the direction you received, the guidance you got working behind the scenes from your point of view. That once you stepped onto the soundstage and you were filming, what was happening behind that helped kind of craft you into who you are as a person and as a performer.
Well, I pretty much learned everything that I know now on the set of the Mickey Mouse Club.
Mhm.
And it was really intense training that I don't think I could have gotten anywhere else at that time in my life, because I was exposed to so many different elements of the industry. Because we were not only just acting on a stage, but we were also working in front of cameras, and we were also in a studio learning dance moves and learning songs with musicians, and then also in a recording studio, so learning how to even work a microphone. Um, we were doing line readings, and at the like, or table readings, excuse me. We were doing table readings before, working on skits. And these are things that were so foreign to me prior to the Mickey Mouse Club. So I am so appreciative of that learning experience that I probably did not appreciate it at that time. I didn't
Mhm.
really realize what all went into the training aspect of
Mhm.
that show. And I'm also grateful that I didn't think of it as work so much, because I
Right.
was enjoying myself so much. I have such fond memories about my experience on the show, and getting to sing these songs that I heard on the radio, and then getting to do these fun skits and wear cool costumes and get hair and makeup done in the makeup hair trailer, and it was it and then working at Disney World. I'm you can't it just doesn't get any better than that. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I had such an amazing experience. And so it really did prepare me for, and I didn't know what was going to happen after the Mickey Mouse Club, besides being part of the party and going on tour with that singing group. I didn't know what my career was going to be beyond that.
Right.
Mhm.
So but I know for sure that I used those tools that I learned on the Mouse Club when I got to work on the set of the Sister Act 2,
Mhm.
and then and doing some other television. Like, I didn't do a whole lot of TV and film, but the little that I did do, that I had opportunity to work on, I used the tools that I learned from the Mickey Mouse Club. So um, it was really really a great stepping stone to to my future career that I didn't even know was going to
Yeah.
happen.
And I can't remember if we talked about it maybe with Jennifer a little bit, just the casting side of the Mickey Mouse Club and kind of who was chosen. It's just seems like a genuine group of talented kids at the time, but also you all, I mean, at this stage especially, but even as it came across on the screen, you all seemed like kids, like us. We could connect. And Frank and I often talk about that, even with the age difference, there were kids we could connect to on the show. And it's also that you all seemed humble and loved being there and loved doing what you were doing. And I feel like that came across then. It's come across now when we've gotten a chance to talk to you. And so I think it's amazing that such a group of people were brought together during that time.
Oh yeah, I wish that I knew it was Matt Casella who chose me to be on the show
Yeah.
because I honestly can't remember
Mhm.
who cast me.
Yeah.
I know that I went through the audition process once or twice in Los Angeles and then the final callback in Orlando, but I don't remember exactly who was in the room.
Mhm.
I mean, my memory has gotten worse as I got older, as I'm getting older. But I'm so impressed with everybody who remembers all of those details and
Mhm.
and names. I'm terrible with names, but I am grateful that that the show really was, a group of kids that were just kids,
Yeah.
and I think I think that it was on purpose that they hired kids that didn't have an extensive resume. I
Mhm.
think that was on purpose and to get the kids next door type of feel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, of course, there was Rocky, who was the star of Star Search, who I was familiar with. I was very starstruck when I met her.
Mm.
But everybody else, even though I found out later that Braden and Brandy had been on Broadway,
Mm.
and then I'm sure there were other cast members who had done much more than I had done at that time. For the most part, we were just a bunch of kids,
Yeah.
who shared the same interests in performing and then singing and dancing and acting and just loving that experience altogether.
Before we pivot into the party a little bit, is there any? As I'm going to try to jog your memory here that you just talked about, are there any memories you have of kids being let loose in Disney World? Do you? Yeah, you got a brand new
Well,
theme park. The world is your oyster. Is there any?
yeah. I had shared this memory a couple of times. It's one of and I share it often because it's one of my favorite memories. And I don't even know why we were there that late, but it was late. And it was late because I know there weren't patrons in the park at this
Mhm.
time. They were cleaning the streets. They were cleaning the streets of the MGM Studios. At that time, it was called the MGM Studios. Now, what is it? The Hollywood
We
Studios?
still call it MGM though,
Okay,
so it's
okay.
fine
Me
here.
too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Always MGM,
Me too.
Yeah.
So they were cleaning the streets. I remember that the sidewalks and the streets were kind of wet because of the hose. They were hosing it down. And for whatever reason, Tiffany and I had roller skates on. And this is so dangerous. And I know that we could get in so much trouble just talking about it. But like it's been so many years, people are not gonna get it. And I remember hanging on to the back of the trams and like just being pulled by the trams while we were
That's
on our roller
amazing.
skates. There is no way that I would ever allow my children to do that. Okay. Now, as a
Mhm.
mom, I'm like,
Right.
I can't believe that they let us do that. But they must have been going really slow because it's not like they didn't know we were there.
Yeah.
We were like, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. But that's one of my favorite memories. Just being a kid and you know on the lot
Yeah.
of MGM Studios.
That's really funny.
Yeah,
That's a
that
good one.
and Mickey Mouse ice cream bars. You know, the
Yeah.
ones that
Mhm.
not the one that has all the chocolate, the hard chocolate around it, but like it's like half vanilla, half the mouse ears
Oh,
were
mhm.
Oh yeah.
chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't
Now
make
that you
those
say it,
anymore.
no, they don't.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, oh, I haven't seen
It's
one of
true.
those in a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are my favorites. That was one of my favorite things to get in the park while I was going to the bathroom while we were in
Yeah.
school. I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then I would go on stage.
Yeah.
Getting ice cream. The perks.
Yes.
Go transitioning from like season 2 to season 3 of the all new Mickey Mouse Club, it became evident to Jen and I that certain Musketeers were being positioned in certain ways. I mean, even back then at our young age, we,
Yes.
and for different reasons, like, and I'll talk about this more maybe when we get to 90s Con, but I felt like they always like to lead in with you on some video jams and things like that. Like you have a likability factor that just jumped out at the screen in different ways, and so
Really?
yes, 100%, Dede.
Oh.
Always,
Thank
like you want to.
Mhm.
I mean, whether we're talking about the beginning. Right, I'm gonna like this any of the group video jams, especially, right? I like to put a little
Mhm.
love in your heart and higher, like you were there first. Like it
Yeah.
was done for a reason. We're like, yes, Dede's here, we're all in. And
I don't recall.
and so I just felt like some were getting featured, and I'm not gonna say more. I think it was differently of how everyone. So for the 5 of you in the party, Chase, Damon, Albert, yourself, and Tiffany, you got a sense it was going somewhere, and then the announcement for name the group was, I guess, the big thing of that there was going to be this
Mhm.
music group. Behind the scenes for you, what was that like as that started to take shape, that you would have a vocal singing group?
That was so uncomfortable. Okay. Because there were 2 representatives from Hollywood Records that came, the president of Hollywood Records and his assistant, and they came and they had us sit in one of the conference rooms, like all the kids, and then them too, and a radio. Well, not a radio, a beatbox. Oh no, a box.
Mhm.
What are those?
A
Boombox.
A boombox.
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
beatbox. No, a boombox. And they literally had a cassette, or maybe it was a CD. Anyway, they were playing songs for each and every one of us. Where all of us, they were playing a list of songs, and we listened to, I think, all of the songs in its entirety. So it was a long meeting,
Yeah.
and all of us were there. And I remember sitting behind Jennifer McGill, and we were listening to the songs, and everybody was listening to the songs together. But by the questions, by they were asking each and every one of us, like, what do you think about this song? Or they would say, just in general, what does everybody think about this song? And some people would be more vocal than others. And then they would say, Albert, what do you think? Or Chase, what do you think? Or Tiff, what about you? Or Dede, what do you think? Damon, would you dance to this or something like that?
Mhm.
I'm paraphrasing. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly the conversation, but it was kind of like that. And I remember Jennifer turning around and she goes, I think they're gonna pick you. They were like, she was like, I know she was kind of mouthing to me, I think they're gonna pick you. And I was like, ugh, and it was so uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, you're all
Because-
together like that,
Yeah.
for the
Yes,
period of time, and then
it was
Mhm.
so, I just don't, I don't like that kind of,
Yeah.
I want, you go, you
Yeah.
have the song, you do,
Yeah.
I'm sort of have been that way my whole life. And so when that happened, of course I was over the moon grateful and
Mhm.
excited. But yeah, it was a weird way to do it. It was a weird
Mhm.
way, and it was uncomfortable for the kids. And I think that, in retrospect, if I was in charge, I might have done it a little differently.
Right.
But that's just how it happened. Yeah. It was weird. It was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
remember
no.
it being really uncomfortable. And everybody was so loving. And, of course people had feelings about everything, but
Mhm.
I never felt like there was any ill will,
Right.
especially with the kids. We all loved each other.
Mhm.
I loved everybody. And like I said, I have really, really fond memories of my time there. So
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody has a story.
And then once you're out of that room and now, hey, you're going to be part of this group, that next transition from now you're on set every day to now you're now this pop group. I mean, how was that transition for you?
I remember just it happening so fast.
Yeah.
And that we were just, okay, now we're going to be over here and we're going to do this. And when we come back, we're going to have us be separate things. And I thought that was weird too.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? I want to hang out with these kids. I want to do skits with them too.
Mhm.
But they, they had a vision of what it was going to be like. And we had no say about what was
Yeah.
going to happen. At least I didn't think we did. And
Mhm.
so I pretty much was just there for whatever, okay, just tell me what to do and I'll do my best. And so I mean, it was still all really fun and exciting. The party years were also such a crazy whirlwind, touring with Taylor Dane and High Five and Vanilla Ice, and I mean, that was crazy.
Yeah.
um Color Me Bad, yeah, that was such a fun experience and wild to go to different countries and then almost get mobbed in a mall. I mean, it was just unreal.
Yeah.
So I don't think I really thought so much about it. Like, I don't
Mhm.
think I really thought this is really hard or I don't want to do this. I literally was just, what do we do today? Like, what's
Yeah.
on the schedule? And also, we've got to fit in school somehow too. So
Mhm.
we were traveling with our teachers on
Mhm.
location education. And so they wanted to make sure, absolutely, we were going to put our education first. And our parents were there to make sure that happened also and make sure that we were fed and taken care of and
Mhm.
everything. But man, we had a blast. It was
Yeah.
so fun. And, I think that we could have gotten into way more trouble then
Mhm.
Right.
because I don't know if I was just, well, I have to just believe that my parents raised me not to get into trouble, but
Right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I think about the times and the things that we did and the places we went and the maybe some places the lack of supervision. And like, I'm like, wow, I'm amazed that
Mhm.
Mhm.
we're doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm still here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for that experience. I'm grateful for my parents. I'm grateful for my friends that kept me in check.
But it's awesome how you kind of you're always just staying on the train. Like, I'm just on this. Where are we going? Okay,
It
I'm there.
Yeah.
You're not overthinking anything. You're not like, oh, no, let's just keep going. Let's do it. I
Yeah.
like that. That's good. You don't meet many people like that are just like, yeah, no, this is good. I'll keep going on this. This is
Yeah, I
great.
mean, I
Yeah.
really didn't have a reason not to.
Yeah.
My parents were still supportive of
Mhm.
what I wanted to do, and I'm not saying that I didn't get into any trouble, you know what I mean? But I think nothing that put me over the edge or anything like that. And my parents were there alongside.
Mhm.
Um, you know, it wasn't. It still wasn't didn't really feel like a job to me,
Right.
even
Mhm.
though I knew that I had a responsibility. I knew that we all signed contracts and things
Yeah.
like that, but I wasn't thinking about the business aspect of it. I was literally probably thinking about what I was gonna wear, what Tiffany was gonna wear, what makeup I was gonna put on,
Mhm.
and like making sure that my voice was intact, that I could sing the songs,
Yeah.
and then remembering the dance moves and then, making sure that I got my work done, school
Yeah.
work done. But we were still young, we were still kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we got back to the Mickey Mouse Club, it was a little different because we were the party
Mhm.
Mhm.
and then the Mickey Mouse Club was here And so I thought that was a little strange and sad because we were sort of being, split apart.
Yeah.
But and so when people ask me, like, "Did you work with Brittany and Christina and Justin?" And I'm like, "Well, yes and no. I mean, we were there, but
Yeah.
we didn't have any, you know, scenes together or anything.
Yeah.
But we sat and had lunch and crossed paths and in
Mhm.
the makeup chair, and that's pretty much it. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
feel like it was always like, you guys graduated and then you come back and visit,
I mean, I knew JC well enough to ask
Mhm.
him to go to prom with me.
That's
That's
right.
right. So true.
Yeah.
Clearly, there was a
It
connection
also,
there.
I mean,
you
it
know?
also helped that his best friend at the time was Tony Luca, who was dating my best friend at the time. So, like, well, she's still my best friend, but like, so that also helped,
Yes, sure.
I always when we had Chase on the podcast in 2020, I kind of broke it down to the first 3 albums as like this 3-act play where the first album introduced everyone, you kind of got a feel of who everyone was if you didn't watch the Mickey Mouse Club because you didn't have cable or whatever. And then the second album was very much like where all the action took place. You had the lead on In My Dreams, it was Club MTV, it was all those things. So it felt like that was like everything was happening during that second act. And then the third act, was almost, which was Free, was like almost like the climax where it felt like you all broke out in your own ways. And I really, at the time, and I'm saying it as a super fan, right? It's like I really grabbed onto that idea. And because at the time I was also learning about theater more, that I was like, wow, they really have like a 3-act structure in their first 3 albums. And I thought that was, it really told a full story to me, and it really spoke to me that way. And I know a lot of people don't think things like that, but I really appreciated how, I'm judging myself now, telling Dede all these things, but
No.
it really showed how you all grew during that time too.
Wow, I never looked at it like that. You just like made me look at it in a totally different way. 3 acts. I think that you're totally right though. We were just beginning. That first album was pretty much those songs that we listened to in that
Mhm.
conference room, and then they chose what songs would be best fitting for each and every one of us. And then that second album was also still songs that were chosen for us. The third one, that's the one we worked with Teddy Riley. I think Dr. Dre was in there too. That was actually not the one that I was thinking of. Wait, where's Yellow Butterfly was on the fourth one. So that's the one where we were all sort of like spreading our wings and like, experimenting with writing our own music
Right.
and so yeah, there was definitely a progression, but that happens naturally. We were all growing, we were all, in our teenage years at that time, and discovering who we thought we were, and then kind of figuring out what kind of music we liked and what music we gravitated towards. But I like your breakdown.
And
I
I'm
like your
sure,
break.
yeah, it's my own. It's like what I was experiencing at the time too. I worked at a Sam Goody during that when Free came out, and I just remember the day that they put the CD in the spot, and I was like, and then just how you all looked on the cover, and I was like, what is happening? This is awesome.
Sam Goody.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember Sam Goody.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's, again, what I was going through and kind of trying to connect it for myself at the time was, I really, in a lot of ways, and I'm not musically gifted at all, but watching you guys, seeing you all perform on that show when it was time that suddenly I was getting into theater, and in my senior year of high school, I didn't get into theater until that's I was all of a sudden I was like, oh, that's what I was drawn to was the likability of everyone on that show. It's what connected me, and it's the joy they had in performing. And so that was always my takeaway from that. So then to see the growth, my first year of college, I think, was when Free came out. that was then again like, oh, they're growing, I'm growing too. Look, it's all happening
Yes,
together.
we're all growing together.
Yes. I love everybody's different interpretations, though. And you know how you can take one song and all the lyrics, and it could mean something entirely different
Yeah.
to the next person. And it's just how you interpret it and how you kind of apply it to your life. I love that. I love that you can do that with pretty much anything.
As you're touring, coming back home, were you then going back into high school since you were kind of in and out of the Mickey Mouse Club at that point, but were you in an actual high school at that point, or were you still kind of on a set somewhere learning? How did that work?
So whenever we were home, because I think that we had a very short-lived experience going physically to high school. I think that it just was messing things up with like scheduling and attendance and like late and I think it was messing everything up with the teachers and also distracting, I think, for the other kids who weren't seeing us all the time. But we were enrolled to a high school called Dr. Phillips, and I actually walked. I graduated with my Lynn, and Chase and Albert for some reason didn't walk that same time, but we were still having homeschooling at that time. So whenever we were home, we had the teachers either come to my house or Chase's house. And I like to joke, my husband, I'm like, I was the top in my class. I was like one of 3 students. It was me, Chase, and Albert.
I was a valedictorian. It's not a big deal.
And that's so funny though. But I'm joking. They were all very, very, very bright students. But yeah, so we would have school at home.
Yeah.
And it was very much like how it was when we were on tour. But yeah, so that's how we finished up.
Yeah, but you got to walk, and I think that's
I know,
and
I got to go to prom.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to do all of the normal teenage stuff, and even though what's normal now, it's just not even a word I think that people can identify with now. But I knew that I wanted to do that, and some people don't really care for that kind of thing, but I knew I wanted to, and I'm so glad that I did. I actually went to prom. My first prom was with my brother, who actually took Carrie Russell.
Oh, that's fun.
And we kind of just did like a group thing. And then my second prom was JC.
Yeah.
And Mylin too. Mylin was there.
I mean, there's been a few names to come from that high school. I don't know. There's just a couple of people went to that high school. Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
Gone so.
Well, that's true.
All the
Front page
talk.
news.
Oh yeah, I know. I know. It's so funny. It never gets old. Not for me anyway.
Well, as the party was wrapping up, did you know at the time your pivot was going to be into musical theater, or were you considering all the options?
When I was on the Mickey Mouse Club, it was Fred Newman who actually brought Miss Saigon to my attention. And when Miss Saigon came out, he was the one who told me about it. He said, he asked me if I had known about it, and I'm like, I don't know anything about musical theater. I didn't have an interest back then.
Yeah.
And but then he got me curious about it. I bought an album and I listened to it like all the time. I memorized all the songs. And then I was at that time just determined to audition for this show. I don't know when, I don't know how. But we were actually, the party was on tour in London. We had a couple of shows in London, and on a night off, we had an opportunity to see Miss Saigon. Oh, they don't call it the Broadway there. They call it
The West End.
The West End. Thank you very much, Frank. So we had an opportunity to watch Miss Saigon, and it was just my mom and me, Tiffany, Nancy, and I think Ginger and Ethel. I think it was Ethel there? Oh gosh. Oh, I'm so terrible. I'm so terrible. I know it. I know that I saw it with my mom.
Yeah.
For sure. Because we were watching it, and I don't know, have either of you seen Miss Saigon?
Yes, I have.
I don't think I have.
I saw you in Miss Saigon in Orlando in
No way.
1997. I think.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I went to UCF, so I saw you on tour there. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
yay. Thanks for coming, Frank. But I saw it, and I was about 16 years old when I saw it on the West End. And I just remember seeing the leading lady singing this really powerful ballad, and she was like front and center, and she was emoting all of these, feelings and singing this really powerful ballad. And I leaned over to my mom and I was like, I want to play that role someday. I said that to her, and she was remembering the skimpy clothing and the dancing and the kissing scenes and all that kind of stuff. And she was like, oh, I don't think you should. I think you're too young. She's like, you're just too young.
Right.
Maybe when you're older or whatever. So when I was about 19 is when I auditioned for it eventually. When I moved out to California with my Lynn after the Mickey Mouse Club, we moved out to California together. And while we were there, I auditioned for the show. I was 19. And then I got to play Kim. I got to play that dream role. And then when I went on tour with the show, we were in Hartford, and I think we were close enough to Fred. Fred came, and he came to see the show with his daughter.
Nice.
And I was like, it meant so much to me that he came to see the show. But that was full circle right there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know you played Nessa Rose and Wicked, and I know you've done If Then. Are there? I guess the real question would be, what kind of roles would you want to play that's still out there in musical theater land? Is there anything that grabs you?
Well, I auditioned for Hamilton
Oh,
a handful of times, and I auditioned initially for Eliza, and then they gave me Angelica music to learn, and they flew me to New York and everything, and I went. I don't know. I want to say it was too early. It was in LA time, and New York. It was like my voice just wasn't warmed up enough, and I totally bombed my audition.
Oh.
I cracked, and I just didn't have the confidence. I like to say Godfidence, but I wasn't as well prepared as I could have been.
Right.
And it just wasn't meant to be. But I I got to see the show there on Broadway. They got me a seat real close, and I remember I think it was the company manager who came to meet me at the seat, and he was like, oh, you're going in for Angelica tomorrow? And I said yes. And he goes, I remember you when you were in Miss Saigon, like that was many years ago. And I was like, oh wow. And he goes, I didn't know you could rap. And I was like, well, I should hope I know how to do somewhat rapping, because I made it this far, So, but I thought that was such a funny thing for him to say. But he was like, I remember you in Miss Saigon. I'm like, I didn't know that you could rap. I thought, makes for a funny story now. Yeah. Apparently I can't rap because I didn't get it. I practice in the car sometimes. That was a show that I really, really wanted to do at one point. I wanted to be Green at one point to play Elphaba. And I had an interesting conversation with a musical director who said he couldn't see me play anybody but Nessa Rose. And it made me want to do it even more. Like it made me want to really work on it. But that is a really tough show to sing. The Elphaba's part is really, really difficult for me to sing. I know that there are some women out there that can do it in their sleep, but that was a challenging role to sing. But one fun thing that I got to do is in doing the show If Then, both on Broadway and the touring company, I got to understudy LaShawne's in her role, and Jen Colella, and also Adina on tour.
Oh, nice.
And those were 3 totally different roles. But I'd never understudied before. And to understudy those powerhouse
Right.
that was not a lot of pressure at all. But how wonderful an experience. And it was one of the hardest things that I'd ever had to do was understudy these roles, mostly because I had to learn 3 different roles,
Mhm.
two at a time, but just to retain. Also, in my older age, I'm like, my memory is like worse. But like, I had to just to memorize the words and then the blocking and then being thrown in at the drop of a hat, like
Yeah.
not knowing when you were going to go on, and then to have to click that in your brain and then say, okay, I'm not doing my ensemble role right now.
Mhm.
Changing it up in my brain, like trying to
Yeah.
remember everything.
Yeah.
And then they do this thing, this gentle push, this gentle nudge. I think it's like shove with love. So the other cast members push you in the right direction in case you're going astray or
Mhm.
not landing on your mark. But that was a really, really fun, exciting, and super stressful job. But I'm so thankful for that experience. But there are other roles that I would love to play again. Like I did Next to Normal with my husband,
Mm.
Mhm.
and got to play Diane. And that was a really intense role. That at one point I was like, I would love to do this again because I felt like the role was I was kind of short lived, that
Mhm.
run. I would like to have done it again, but just to
Yeah.
see where I could go with the character again. But
Mhm.
Did you meet doing Wicked, or were you already married doing Wicked together?
we met doing Miss Saigon.
I'll doing Miss
Okay.
Saigon.
Yeah,
Okay.
so my husband Clifton,
Yeah.
he's from Hawaii, and he and I auditioned both in California and then again in New York.
Okay.
But yeah, so we met doing Miss Saigon,
Yeah.
and then we were very, very blessed to have worked together on a small handful of other shows. So um, yeah, we did Wicked together, and then we did Tommy,
Mm.
and then we did Next to Normal. Also, If Then we also did together, and then we did a production of Mamma Mia in Guam
Oh,
together.
wow.
Yes, that was really super fun.
So, and then just to talk about Steven Universe, I think I'm more curious, with your performing career, how you use your voice as a tool. I guess I want to know what your secrets are, how you're able to go from one, again, maybe flipping a switch from boom musical theater to voice acting. Just maybe a little insight into how you keep your voice so strong and flexible and durable.
Well, I think that was a learning process for me because when I started doing Miss Saigon, I didn't have formal training. Like I said before, I
Mhm.
just sort of dabbled with, or not dabbled, but I kind of worked loosely with some coaches vocally, but not on a recurring basis. And so when I did eventually do Miss Saigon, I actually hurt my voice pretty
Mm.
badly at the very beginning, and to the point where I couldn't perform some of the times, and they would have me rest my voice for the and save my performance for an opening night. Say
Mhm.
like there was an opening night performance coming up, then I wouldn't do the performances leading up to,
Mm.
like the previews, because I would damage my voice so
Mm.
badly. And so because I wasn't singing properly, I wasn't
Mhm.
supporting my voice. And so when I eventually went from the tour, which was my first experience with the show, I went from the tour to Broadway. And when I got to Broadway was when I seriously worked with a vocal coach in New York. And I learned some tools that I still use today. It's hard to break old habits,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Mhm.
So I know that I kind of fall back into my bad habits of singing and then putting stress on my voice.
Right.
But I learned that singing is simply an extension of speaking. It's just a little bit more supporting, and I don't even know if I try to do it when I'm speaking or when I'm doing a voiceover. For instance, I do the voice of Pearl in Steven Universe. That's her right there. Thankfully, her voice is it's just me. It's just an
Mhm.
exaggerated version of my own voice.
Mhm.
But I've done some other voices where I've had to, like for some video games, they wanted me to scream. They wanted
Mhm.
me to like belt something out, words that I don't really use in my vocabulary, and then I would really kind of hurt my voice. And there was one time that I was actually doing Tommy. I was doing the live show of Tommy. Then I had to go and record a song for this show because it's a musical show. Steven Universe is a musical show, and I was in the middle of doing that show Tommy, and it's kind of a rock and roll show. Had I really, stuck to my training, I wouldn't have had, any vocal trouble performing the song in the studio. And I did, so I had to postpone my recording. But yeah, there's definitely some technique that goes into it that I'm not 100% sure that I can accomplish. So I do my best, and I give God the rest. So that because I think I didn't learn the good habits early on. Some of my bad habits, I fall back into my bad habits of not supporting my voice. I'm getting better at it at 47 years old. I'm getting better at it, and I think that when I do work on voiceover, I can sort of like know when I need to pull back or support more or drink water or not do the thing that makes my voice hurt. But yeah, it's a little different, but it's also the same because you're just acting, but you just don't have a camera on you or you're not on stage. You're still emoting and trying to, emulate some kind of something that's happening. It's just a drawing now that you're matching a expression on a drawing than your actual body. But it's very physical in the studio when I'm recording. You can imagine.
Is there at this point, because you've been in so many arenas of the business, do you have a favorite? Like, if I could just stay this course over here, or do you kind of like having a little bit of everything?
I kind of love something or many things about everything. Voiceover work is so much fun because you can wear so many different hats. It doesn't matter what you look like. As long as your voice tells the story. And I love being in the studio also. I love recording music in the studio and also doing voice acting in the studio. It's one of my favorite places to be. But there is nothing like live theater. There's just nothing like it. And to tell a story from start to finish, because when you're doing television and film, at least from my experience, it's so choppy. You don't necessarily start at the beginning. You sometimes go in and do something somewhere in the middle or at the end, and then you go back and you're doing backstory or whatever. And the timing is very different. Whereas when you do a play or a musical, you start at the very beginning and then you keep going and the show must go on regardless of what happens. And then you hope that the goal is that you told the story, that you moved somebody in the audience. And there's just nothing like it. Live theater or live performances, in general, that's got to be one of my favorites. I have too many favorites.
That's okay. It's better to have too many, I think.
Yes.
We didn't get to go to MMC 30 in 2019, but we saw. I know.
Wait, why? You guys
I have a
Florida.
T-shirt, so I pretend I did. No, we're in New York now, so it.
Okay.
And then so we think about it like, what were we doing? Why did we make that horrible decision? I don't know. So it's probably like scheduling or who knows.
And we tried to right the wrong. We did the party concert at the House of Blues in September 2021.
That was also very special. Very special.
Yes.
So great. And then we saw you at 90s Con last year. So even just the idea of performing, seeing you guys perform twice in like a matter of 6 months, like live in front of my face was just our face was mind blowing. I guess as we go, you have the event on the 28th, Saturday, January 28th with MouseCon. But even looking ahead, what what can we expect? What do you guys? What do you want to do? Because we want more. Dede.
Oh,
It's really
gosh.
good. Like, are we gonna get more of you and Mylin doing the podcast too? I guess.
Yes.
Another.
Yes, we took a little break because she was working on her own project,
Mhm.
which I was so happy to be a part of. Also, I mean, to be part of that or to take part in it. But yes, Mylin and I do plan to do more podcasts.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Or YouTube shows. I don't know.
Oh.
One of all the above. And if I could have a say, I don't know. I would love for us to do a repeat of MMC 30,
Mhm.
but West Coast,
Uh-huh.
because I know that. Well, then you're going to have to take a trip
I
to
mean,
California.
we'll do it.
Twist our arm.
Mhm.
That's my hope. I would love
Yeah.
to do that again. That was
Yeah.
really, really, really special. And I don't know that we could do it in California. It would have to be in Orlando again, I think, because Disney World, because MGM,
Where it all started.
that's where it all started. But it was really, really special time. And I'm thankful that it was documented in some way, shape, or form, like that Dale and Chase really did a wonderful job to put that thing together, and all of the people, like the always in the club, everybody involved
Mhm.
did such a wonderful job putting all the pieces together. Lisa Canada, I don't know if you know Lisa, but
We do. She's been on the podcast twice.
she has.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, love her, love Lisa.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And Yvette also.
Mhm.
All of them, that their whole team did such an extraordinary thing with bringing everybody together.
Mhm.
So I hope that we can do something like that again. That's my hope. I'm just
That'd be
putting it out
amazing.
there.
No, it's gotta happen.
Yes.
It's gotta keep
happen.
going.
Yes.
Just for Jen and Frank, okay?
Exactly.
Do it
For
again.
no one else.
Just
no one
us.
else.
Come on.
Just for Jen and Frank.
I'm gonna pass it to Jen about meeting you at 90s Con because she has a little something she's been meaning to ask for about 10 months or so. But I want to say, because as an Italian Long Islander, I felt like watching Damon do his thing, meeting Damon was like just kind of I couldn't believe that was happening. We had talked to Chase on the podcast. Meeting everyone else was great, but there was something about meeting you, Dede, at 90s Con that was very, I don't know. It took me by surprise about how emotional I was about meeting you. You had done a lovely cameo that a listener of the podcast, Eric Neal, had done right after the pandemic started in 2020. That kind of like was this light in a cloud of darkness during that time. That really, it meant a lot. And then I guess just that, but also it just seemed to encapsulate everything that we love about the Mouse Club, that we do love about the Mouse Club, and that genuine and the authenticity behind it all just really stood out. And I found myself very emotional meeting you, and I wasn't expecting that. So that I just want to say thank you, because it really. I don't know. I guess when it surprises you like that, it means more or something. But I'm just gonna say it and leave it at that, and pass it over to Jen, who's gonna bring some of the humor, I think, about that.
Well, I thank you so much. You're making me emotional just listening to you speak about it. But I'm so grateful. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for you guys, and yeah, so much love, so much love.
First of all, that cameo, by the way, was like 7 or 8 minutes long. And we're like, is she still talking to us? This is amazing. We're going to save this forever. I can't believe she said our names. What?
I told you I
the fact that we're here is...
I babble. I'm sorry, I babble.
It was amazing. We're like, she's wearing a jacket? What is happening right now? I can't believe this.
Oh, I have a jacket.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
It still fits.
Yay.
The pleather.
So here is when I knew at 90s Con that we're pretty much best friends. So we were taking a selfie, and we had taken one or two, and then we're like, does it look okay? And you said, you know what, let's just take one more. And then you followed it up with just in cases. And literally we both were like, Did she just say that? Because we are big Love Actually fans. And
Is that where I
so
got it?
I know. And we were wondering, we're like, is that why she said it? Does she look like is this? We say that all the time. I don't understand what's happening. And it was like such a random, like at the end of our meeting, right before we were leaving, and I was like, did she said that right? Like, I think, well, now we're best friends officially, I think.
Yes.
Yes. So you're not sure if you got it from Love Actually, because that was going to be my question. Are you a Love Actually fan?
I
But
am. I love that
yeah,
show.
well,
Well, I love that show. I
then
love that movie.
then
And
perfect.
did
That's
you
probably where you
know?
got them.
Did you know that it was a musical? They made it into a musical.
I don't think I knew that.
Yes.
I don't think I knew
They
that
did a
either.
couple of versions of it in California, and they debuted them at Christmas time. I didn't get a
Oh.
chance to go see it. I had a couple friends in it, and
Oh,
I
goodness.
didn't. I had moved already, and there was a reason why I couldn't go to the first one. But I was so bummed I couldn't go. But yes, it is a
Yes.
musical. It's
Oh.
a musical,
Amazing. Well,
and
we
they
need to get out
play.
there.
They play the movie alongside the musical.
What?
Oh,
Yes.
That's
cool.
really funny.
Yeah,
Oh
so
my
it's not
goodness,
quite like for the kids, the
Sure.
younger
Yeah,
kids,
Yeah. Mhm.
but yes, I
That's
do.
so funny.
I'm gonna have to rewatch and listen
Yes.
for in
It's right.
cases.
Just watch the last 5
It's
minutes.
just
It's
in
right. It's the
cases.
last, and they're in the restaurant and he proposes and he says, "You learned English?" And she said, "Just in cases."
Oh, just
and
in
yes,
cases!
yes.
Yes!
And
Cases! Oh my goodness.
it's just a small little thing. That it was
It's
so
the
funny.
little
Even leading up
things.
to the podcast, Frank is like, "Are you going to ask her about this?" I'm like, "Yes, I am. We are going to talk about this. Absolutely."
Oh, I'm
So
so glad you
funny.
brought it up.
Yeah. What would this
Just in
podcast be if
cases.
I hadn't asked that question?
Right.
No, but it was, I mean, you all are what pushed us to go to 90s Con. And
Aw.
that experience was just, I mean, that was crazy. And I don't even know how to explain it. And then to see you, like Frank said, to perform again. We had seen you in September and we're like, is this real life? Like, what is happening? Is this what we do now, like every 6 months? Because that's okay. I'm in on that. But it
Oh
was
my
just
goodness.
an amazing experience and it was so great. And all of you took just time, which I think was our biggest thing. We're very, like, we don't want to bother anybody. We don't want to, overstep or overstay our welcome. And all of you were just so welcoming, just hanging out and talking. We're like, what's going on? I don't know.
They were
what's
like,
happening.
please come talk to
Yeah.
us. I mean, it was such a funny moment too. Just backstage, I remember we were going over the dance moves, because it had been a little minute,
Mhm.
and so Chase and I were like going over the dance moves, and Albert was like, yeah, I got it, and Damon was also going over the dance moves, but like. I was teaching the boys. I was teaching the boys. At least I thought I was. And then, of course, when we get on stage, I totally mess it up because the microphone is supposed to be on the mic stand, and I was holding it instead. And so it totally threw me off.
That's
And
funny.
so I messed up the dance moves because of the microphone. But anyway.
Well, those mics were kind of weird. They were all on the stand. You guys were passing them off. So it got confusing up there. I get it. That's, yeah.
Thank
that
you,
makes sense.
Jen. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah. I watched that whole
Just
thing
in
happening.
cases.
Yes.
Just
Just
in
in
cases.
cases, there's too many mics. So.
But that was a fun time. And then to see all of the 90s
Yes.
icons,
Mhm.
that was really, really fun. And they did some really cool little, pop-up things that everybody could take fun pictures with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
I'm
fun.
hoping that we can go back again. But that was a good time.
Yeah,
It just
that's
brought
fun.
us back.
Did
No,
you
yeah.
see anyone backstage that you were starstruck by or hoping to meet or?
I got to take pictures with Candace Cameron. Well, not
Nice.
Candace Cameron, but Candace. I can't pronounce
Candace Cameron Bure.
it.
Bure. I almost said it
Bure.
weird. Bure.
Bure.
Yeah.
Yes. And Joey
Lawrence. I got a picture with him too, so I
You
get it.
did?
Yes.
Yeah, Joey Lawrence, and then I saw Kel,
Mm.
who I had met once before. Oh, and Joey Fatone, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were more people there. I like my mind is escaping me clearly. But yeah, and then there's a green room, where we all sort of kind of get together and do our makeup, and then they have like little snacks and things like that.
Yeah.
And being in that room is so like I'm like, I don't want to bother anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to I want to take a picture with them, but I'm like, I don't want to, take away their private time or their quiet time or like that. That was like for me, because I get really starstruck. So that was kind of hard to contain my excitement. I did manage to get a couple of photos. And they were very awkward, but I did get them. I didn't get all the pictures I wanted, but I got some. So.
And was Joey in Disneyland for the Blossom episode? I don't remember that one enough to know.
Oh gosh, was he?
We'll have to go back. Blossom's on Hulu, I discovered,
so
we may have to go back and check that out.
Oh, I don't have the Hulu.
No. Jen will give you the password once.
Yeah. Don't tell them though; they'll shut me down. But yes, we'll send it to you.
No. Okay. No, I don't want anybody to get in trouble.
No.
The third annual Mouse Con is in Bakersfield on Saturday, January 28th at the Kern County Fairgrounds. I know a bunch of you are going to be there. I don't know what you can share, what you know already, or you're just looking forward to the whole shebang.
I just always am looking forward to, meeting with my Mouska brothers and sisters. But Chase will be there, David, Jen, Mylin, and Mark. And we're really just gonna kind of, be there together. We're gonna say hello to people. We might have a little talk back. We're gonna take some pictures and just enjoy each other's company again. I love every opportunity that we have to get together with my old friends, and so thankful for them, and hopefully we'll have more opportunities to do that in this new year.
Yeah, that's what for us, for no one else but us.
For no one else,
yes,
just you, just Frank and Jen.
Dede, I mean, we can't overstate it. Like we're just so appreciative of the time you take to talk to us here for this, and I'm glad we can finally.
You guys.
I mean, it's recoil, and like, I don't know what to do with that. But we hope to see you soon for sure. And just let everyone know that something has to be done for us. And whatever word you can put in.
I'll make all of the emails out tonight.
In the subject line for Frank and Jen.
For Frank and Jen.
Right. Yeah.
Must read now.
Right. Yes.
Dede, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Will I see you in Bakersfield or no, not this time around? All right. Well, we then definitely have to.
Somewhere on the East Coast, you'll see us. Then.
Yes, all right.
Whatever's next on the East Coast for sure. All right, I'm going to hit the end broadcast so we know.
Oh, we're not going to sing now. It's time to say goodbye to all our company. MIC Frank.
See you real soon.
KEY Jen.
Why? Because we like you.
MOUSE.
Yes, dance break.
Oh, yes. Through the years, we'll all be friends wherever. Oh, is it?
Yes.
All right, that's the way we're going to end this.
Go to dillosdiz.com for blogs, vlogs, and more. dillosdiz.com. You can follow Dillos Diz on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok at Dillos Diz. Dillos with an S, Diz with a Z. You can like Dillos Diz on Facebook, facebook.com/Dillos Diz, and join our Facebook group, Dillos Diz Community Core. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Dillos Diz, and subscribe for future live streams and vlogs. Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz featuring Frank Cardillo and Jen Cardillo Snyder. Music and themes produced by Matt Harvey. A Dillo's Diz podcast 2023.